Say hello to the Samsung Galaxy A51, a late 2019 mid-ranger by Samsung, updating on the A50. Awesome screen, awesome camera, long-lasting battery life. I'm sure you've heard that. We're going to see if Samsung's claims live up to the truth here in this video. Now, one thing you're going to notice right away is, yes, this is a plastic design, kind of reminds you of the older Samsung with plastic phones, but with a more modern look, and a quad camera. Pretty interesting. You don't usually see this on a phone at this price point, but you know, manufacturers are getting better at bringing this down to the cheaper phones here in 2020. You can see we have a Bixby button, a volume rocker there, and on the back you can see there's a little bump where that quad camera setup is, and when you place it down on the table, you could actually scratch that camera. So Samsung did include a case in the box. It might look a little bit flimsy, but hey, at least you have a case, and when you do place it on there, you will have a very good, protection on that camera for the rear. So that's going to help you out quite a bit if you do purchase yourself a Galaxy A51. Now, I also noticed that this has a dual SIM card slot, which is pretty nice here for the Samsung Galaxy A51, and a micro SD card, which you can put up to 1 terabyte of storage in. So yeah, pretty nice to see we can really expand the memory on this one. Also, you'll notice a very thin phone here. I mean, we're talking like 7.9 millimeters. This thing only weighs 172 grams. So yeah, plastic always lends to a lighter body. So even though this is a very large and tall phone, it's super light. So easy to carry this thing around in terms of just the weight of the phone. On the whole, the design is pretty decent. A 6.5-inch display here on the front, and yes, that is of the flat variety. So if you're not a curved display fan, you'll be happy here. 405 ppi, which is not the sharpest resolution ever, but for this price, I think Samsung is telling the truth with an awesome screen here. You also do have vivid modes and natural modes, which you can go ahead and tweak to your liking here in the software. Pretty standard for Samsung stuff. Dark mode is also here, so you don't got to pay $1,000 to get dark mode on your phone, and good range of brightness and good range of dimness as well. You can also download extra blue light filters to get even dimmer. Now, watching videos should be great on here. You have to pinch to zoom in a little bit if you want to get more content on the full screen, but it's a pretty good viewing experience. And of course, full screen gestures and navigation buttons are here, but I found the gestures to be a little bit slow. Now, always on display with different variations of customization on that always on display is also present. So the Galaxy A51's display is phenomenal. It's pretty awesome. I think you're going to be happy with this display. So One UI 2.0 along with Android 10 comes out of the box for the Galaxy A51 on an Exynos 9611 10nm CPU, which means that, it's not a 7nm, so it might be a little bit slower than a CPU like that. But going through the software a little bit, you can see we have a ton of advanced features. Something is typically reserved for your more premium Samsung devices, so it's nice to see these features. One of my favorite is the one-handed mode. You're definitely going to need this on a 6.5-inch tall phone like this one. Of course, you can do things like pop view on this phone with 2 different apps at once. You can even put like 3 or 4 if you really wanted to cram that screen up with applications. And of course, you do have your typical split screen modes here for Galaxy A51. So yeah, this thing is packed into features. You can even rotate this in landscape. I cannot even do this on my iPhone 11 Pro Max. So that's a pretty cool feature here. And of course, up there in the notifications panel, you could see tons of features. One of my favorites is the new updated digital well-being features. It's just a little bit better than before. And yeah, you can go ahead when you get this phone and play around with these. I think you will like this link to Windows though. If you do have a Windows PC, you can text right with your Microsoft PC right next to your phone, which is pretty cool for this device, I would say. Now, you also have edge panels. You would think that this is not an edge or a curvy phone, but yeah, you still have these edge panels, which a lot of people are really disappointed when you don't have these on a smartphone. So having this on the A51 is a nice treat, I think, for this device. Overall, it's your typical Samsung software in 2020. So kind of what you expect to get from Samsung. Now, when it comes to performance, I gotta say these gestures on this phone are just not snappy. You notice Samsung didn't really push anything about performance in the marketing of this device, and that's a good idea because this is not a great performing phone. Now, I don't want you to get me wrong. It will be a serviceable device. You still can enjoy this device. It's not a slow phone, but it does have a little bit of choppiness to it. I wouldn't say lag because it doesn't really crash up, lock up, anything like that. but it's a little bit choppy. The refresh rate is at 60 hertz, and the speed is just not there compared to like an S10e, for example, or even an older Samsung flagship phone. They're definitely showing you this is not a flagship device, but you will be getting software updates, at least initially for the first year or two. And then after that, you might be craving, another update, and you might not get it for this device. But at least at this price, it might not be too big of a risk. Now, I do just put the navigation keys back on because I find the performance better with the navigation keys on this device. And if you're wondering, does this phone game? Can it game? And the answer to that question is, of course. Mobile games aren't that demanding, most of them. And even Call of Duty Mobile can run just fine on this phone. But there's definitely better options in this price category with much powerful CPUs than this phone if you're looking for gaming. But this can definitely do it with a pretty good battery life. Now, storage on here, 128 gigs, that is a very good value for this price point. And again, you can expand that memory. Moving on to one of the most important factors of this phone, the camera. I'll leave the camera specs on screen now, but we have Scene Optimizer for this, which is kind of like, an AI that kind of detects the situation. Ultra wide, we can go into the regular standard wide here. You can change your aspect ratios on this phone, different filters everywhere. I mean, the features on the Samsung Galaxy A51 are pretty similar to the top tier phones, but you're going to notice something that's not so great here in the video settings. We cannot do 60 frames per second in any mode, not HD, not full HD, and not UHD. So if you like that super smooth video that I often put out my videos on, this one's in 4K, but 60 FPS is just not here for the Galaxy A51. That could be a deal breaker for some people, but I don't know how many people are going to be using this phone as their main camera phone for everything and trying to make videos with this. But kind of strange that they left out 60 FPS, but they put super steady on the A51, which is something you would think they would cut out, but they didn't. So you can do super steady video recording here. And we do have food modes, panoramic modes, night modes, which I did test out in that macro mode with that dedicated camera. Actually wasn't super impressive. I'll show you in my samples in just a minute here. And on that selfie camera, you do have a 32 megapixel sensor on there, which is a pretty good offering here. And I think the selfie quality, while it doesn't have the perfect color and it's a little bit soft, I do think there's some better options like Pixel 3a, for example. This is a pretty good selfie camera. It could do 1080p video recording, and you can do live focus on the front and the rear, so you can do some portrait blurring and stuff like that. So I think it's a good offering on board here with the A51. But enough about all these specs. Go ahead and take a look at some samples I took with this phone, and you could judge for yourself if this is going to be for you. So taking a look at the audio portion, we do have a 3.5mm headset jack. We also do have a single loudspeaker. There's no speaker up there combined like you usually see with the more premium devices, and it actually has Dolby Atmos, but it doesn't work with the external speaker. You need to use the headphones to take advantage of that feature, but go ahead and have a listen of this speaker for yourself.
Samsung Galaxy A51 right there. Nothing really on the back, nothing on that. So this is a 128GB model, and it is the Prism Crush Black. Now, what's really interesting about this phone, the fact that
so you can see
this
easy to cover up.
Has kind of a premium look, but it's a lot less money.
And so yeah, the fingerprint sensor on this phone is in display, but I had problems with the A50 line with this. It wasn't great. I think it's slightly improved here. It's not much better, but definitely I found it to be a little bit more responsive than the A50 line of devices. It's still not great though, so nothing I would be like very impressed or recommend you buy just based on the in-display fingerprint sensor. Now, battery life, very long here. This is definitely long-lasting battery life for the device, as Samsung claims. I'm getting around 7 to 8 hours on screen time. And because it's not a demanding display, not 90 Hz, 120 Hz, not a demanding processor, it's Samsung processor, it's very well optimized. So you're getting great battery life on this phone. Now, phone call quality and carrier support, depending on who you're with, it might or might not work. For me, I tried it on T-Mobile. I also tried it on Straight Talk AT&T. Worked on both of those. So yeah, GSM compatibility, be careful. Make sure you check the bands before you pick one up. But the call quality itself, LTE reception was strong. Not a 5G phone though, so you're not getting that here with this. A51, does it do enough to top the A50? The answer to that question is absolutely. It's kind of like a cheaper version of what's to come for Samsung, maybe in the S20. So if you wanted a budget style, 2020 Samsung phone, this definitely lives up to most of those claims in the commercial. It is a little bit laggy performance, but you're getting all these Samsung features. So my question to you is, are you going to buy the Samsung Galaxy A51, or are you skipping this one out? Let us know down below. If you found this review helpful, entertaining, informing, click the like button for me, subscribe for more. Nick here, be sure to be well, and peace.